Hey everybody, welcome to another Good e-reader video comparison. My name is Michael.
This is Peter.
Today we're going to check out the Kobo Glo versus the Sony PRS-T2. These are pretty well the latest e-readers from both respective companies. Primarily today we're just giving you the ebook experience with both complex PDFs as well as normal ebooks. You can see that the screen pretty well looks the same on both. That's because they both have 6 inches. The big difference is the Kobo Glo has a resolution of 1024 by 758, while the Sony has 800 by 600. So it's a huge difference. They both can be enhanced memory wise from the default 2 gigs found on both to up to 32 via the micro SD. They both have about same comparable battery life. They both have access to the internet and access to buy books directly on the device. Kobo obviously from Kobo and Sony from Sony. Peter here is going to tell you a little bit more and give you a 360 comparison.
All right, starting with the Kobo, nice hard rubber housing on it. Very nice. We also have nothing in terms of hardware-driven buttons. There is nothing on the bezel. It's very clean. Nothing on the left. Nothing on the right. The top, you have a glow light button, and you also have a LED indicator and a standby/power button. On the back, you have a quilted design Argyle kind of look. Kobo logo in the middle. On the bottom, micro USB with a hard reset. And we also have an expandable micro SD memory card slot on the side on the very bottom left. Moving over to the Sony, we have a sleeker, more piano white reflective. You see right there in the studio light there. Very reflective. You'll notice that they do have buttons, which I really like. I really like having buttons. Kind of like a right click or more. Back, home, page turn forward, page turn back. On the left, nothing going on the side, but the thumbnail kind of has, creeping over to the side, micro SD card for expandable memory up to 32 gigabytes, which both these have, which is really cool. Nothing on the right, which gives it a nice clean look. Top is clean as well. Back has... all these e-readers are kind of using this nice hard rubber instead of a piano finish plastic for the back, because if you set it down, it's not going to leave scratches. And the bottom has reset, that actually says reset, micro USB, and a power button with a LED indicator very tinily right next to it.
All right, let's put them side by side to give the people a sense on like how thick that they are, or thin, side by side.
So here's the Sony. And here's the Kobo. The Kobo is a little bit chunkier, only because it's actually significantly shorter. They're pretty much the same width. You see the Kobo's actually wider by a bit. You see it creeping over the side there. But it's definitely thicker.
The main difference that the hardware-wise that the Kobo has is that it has glow light functionality. You can't swap out the backs on the Kobo Glos, but you can on the Arc and the Mini, but you can buy different colors of the Kobo Glo. So I just wanted to point that out. So fundamentally, the Kobo Glo employs glowing technology. Lights emit from the bottom of the bezel here and display evenly on the screen. The Sony does not have any of that, but some people think of the glow light as just a gimmick, and people are entitled to their opinions. I like the ability with the Kobo Glo, the Kindle Paperwhite, Simple Touch Reader with glow light, to be able to read in any circumstance. So let's just turn the glow on a little bit just to give people a sense on what we're talking about. So it looks very blue when you turn it up all the way to the max, but when you try to find that sweet spot, the screen's illuminating, and you don't get that with the Sony. What you do get with the Sony is manual buttons, and I'm huge on this. I love being able to hit the home button, have that tectonic feel to it, and the physical page turn buttons are cool if you don't want to rely on turning pages by just tapping, on the left or right hand side. The first thing that we're going to do is look at an ebook. to give you a sense on how they look. So it's the same book, same type of font, the exact same page. You could see that there's a bit of a difference here in terms of how the text is outlaid. Peter here is going to show you a little bit what you can do with changing the fonts, as well as things that you can do with highlights, notes, annotations, and so on.
All right. So they pretty much turn pages pretty much at the same speed. Looks like the Sony's actually a touch faster with page turns. You can also use the manual buttons for page turns, which I absolutely love. I don't really like how they got rid of the page turn buttons. I think the Barnes & Noble Simple Touch with Glo and the Sony PRS-T2 are some of the only mainstream e-readers left with page turn buttons. So you can still touchscreen on the Sony as well, so that's how it is there. You can press and hold on a word on the Sony, and it'll ask you to note, highlight, send to, or search. So we can make a highlight. Same with the Kobo. Let's get a word here, 4. So we'll make a highlight. We'll just kind of do everything side by side. So they both highlighted there. Got to X out kind of every time you want to turn a page. And we can also grab and extend the highlights with these little anchors. It's kind of hard sometimes because it's thinking a lot, and e-readers, you have to be patient with them. With the Sony, you can just drag and it's a lot quicker. So you can grab as much as you want there. With both of these, you can send to Facebook. See right here as well. Send a Facebook Evernote. You can search in book. Let's go back there. You can make notes. So add a note by keyboard, and we can go good. Typing is pretty much the same. They're both kind of responsive in that sense. So we've made notes, we've made highlights. You can send to Facebook, Twitter, Evernote, that kind of thing, based on what reader you're using. Obviously, when you I don't have to X out every time there. You have dictionary capabilities. You can look up via the dictionary at the bottom, and they both kind of give you instant definitions while you long press. So now for text, with the Kobo Glo, you press at the bottom to bring up the text menu here, and with the Sony, you press the More button here, and you click the font, and that'll bring up the text changes on this one. So really no contest here. The Kobo has so much more. We'll start with the Sony because this has the least amount of options. You can change the text, changes live. You can change the text style as well. Verdana, Masis, all that kind of stuff. Not too much else under that text menu there. With the Kobo, you have text styles. You have font size, lots of options, because instead of the levels here, you actually have a slider bar. So you can go to the extremities and display lots of text if your eyesight's good, or if you need that extra boost, go up really high. Line spacing. Now, this is something nice to note, that this is a side-loaded book, and line spacing and justification and margins don't really work on side-loaded content. You will need to purchase from Kobo. They also have sharpness, weight, and font size preview box here, so you can see what it was and what it will be once you apply the changes to your settings here. And go ahead.
And this is very useful, especially since the Kobo has glowing functionality. So if you have the glow up bright, you may want to make the fonts a little bit more darker, a little bit higher in contrast. So it's a very useful function. But those advanced settings are not only found on the Kobo Glo, but also the Mini and the Touch as well.
Exactly. Yeah, there's a couple more things here. You have Marcus Finish for your Kobo style programs that they have built in, Reading Life and all that, awards. You can add to a shelf and reading settings. And the extra settings on here would be page sync, post to Facebook, orientation, and they have info in show notes. So nothing too crazy on the Sony. Kobo has a lot more options, definitely.
Yeah, Kobo's a little bit more versatile. Even if you want to get as advanced as loading in your own fonts, Kobo Glo supports that. So you saw the default font options, but if you have like favorite ones like Arial and whatnot, anything you want, even Wingdings, if you really wanted to go crazy, you can load them on. Whereas the Sony doesn't have that support. From a core ebook reading experience, I do really like the Sony. I find that you may not have that versatility to really sort of edit your fonts correctly. It's basic, but hey, you know, sometimes there's beauty in simplicity. And I'm a huge fan of like manual buttons, and I do really like the way that Sony's done them. They rise out from the actual case itself. You can kind of see that they're very durable too. You know, we've pressed them hundreds of times and it works fine. It all depends on what you want out of a reader. Kobo has way more books than Sony does, and but the Sony, I think, store looks a little bit more polished than the Kobo ones. We'll show you that towards the end of the video. The next thing that we want to show you is the PDF experience. We're going to look at our benchmark book that we evaluate all readers on, and this is the Dungeons Master's Guide, and we're going to show you some of the ways that you could reflow, pinch and zoom, and do a whole lot more.
Seemed that the Sony had a little bit of trouble opening it up compared to the Kobo. The Kobo just kind of opened it right up, and these are the same files. They're 100 MB files, so we're just going to sync to the same page here, which is 2 pages away, onto a page that has both text and pictures. So page 12. Here we are. So if you tap the bottom, oh, we're going too far here. Sony's having a little bit of problems navigating the pages. If you press the bottom, you can change orientation via the kind of curved arrow there. You can change it to landscape. The Sony's still doing something over here.
Yeah, it seems like there's a slight delay between when you turn a page and when the page actually renders, whereas the Kobo, it's pretty instantaneous.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just going to not touch that for a second. The way to kind of zoom in on this, unlike the Kindle Paperwhite, you can't really pinch and zoom. It just kind of thinks you're changing pages randomly. So what you actually need to do is open up the bottom, press the zoom icon, go to a level of zoom you might feel comfortable with, and then once you're there, you can X out of that, and then you can move it around like so. And you see the little mini map up above. It kind of tells you where you are on the page, and once you get to that point, like a picture, you can let go and it will render, and then you're back to your tremendously amazing resolution.
Yeah, and this is where the Kobo Glo really comes into play, being very strong, that pictures just look really good, whereas with the Sony, pictures still look decent, but the resolution definitely pales in comparison. With the Sony, I'm noticing you're pinching and zooming.
Yeah, which is it's good, but I wish, like Michael said, the resolution was higher, because if this feature was on the Kobo, it would just be the total package, because you can see it. This actually moves a lot quicker, and although they do have this kind of blurriness when you navigate, you can see definitely the Sony's way smoother. But when you both let go on the picture, they both render, and you're left with pretty good picture on the Sony, but really good picture on the Kobo.
Yeah, when Peter was highlighting it around, you saw that the Sony was quicker, but the text was blurrier, whereas when you're scrolling around on the Kobo, the text is still readable.
Yes.
And that's one thing to point out, that the text isn't as unreadable as it is with the Sony one. So obviously no contest when it comes to pictures. What type of reflow options? Traditionally, Sony's pretty strong with reflow. Do we have any of those types of options, or are we pretty well relying on just pinch and zoom?
On the Kobo, you don't really have many of those because you do have your zoom feature. So you can find that level of zoom like we showed you, and you can change it to wherever you want, however much of the page you want to display, and then there's a little box showing you when you let go what your screen will display. On the Sony, if you go to More, you can go to Customize View, and it gives you Adjust View. You can increase the saturation and the font kind of heaviness, much like we saw on the Kobo for PDF. So you see it's really black there, but just for the purpose of this, we'll tone it down. You can also go to Font. And with font, when you up the font, it actually reflows the page. So you can tell here that what we're looking at is part of the page we were on. Not quite sure where looking at the Kobo, but we are reflowed edge to edge. You see all the bolded titles are before the actual text. Nothing's getting really lost in translation.
So does the Kobo have the ability to do this?
Well, with the Kobo, you are pretty much reliant on the zoom function. As you see, there aren't any, the AA, the little logo for changing the font, it's not on any of the PDF options here, whereas when you press the More button, you do have that font option. So you can essentially utilize this for reflow usage.
So when it comes to PDF experience on both devices, what would you give it to?
Honestly, the only drawback on the Sony is while you're moving it around, it's a little bit blurrier, but it moves around quicker. It reflows. You get pinching and zooming, which you don't get on this. You can zoom to a picture quicker. Resolution is a little bit different, but honestly, PDF experience overall, I'd say the Sony just performs a little better.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably say that if you have a lot of PDFs that are image heavy, the Kobo might be for you because of the superior resolution. So like medical charts, academic type books, or even more advanced sort of Dungeons and Dragons, Palladium Rifts, Cyberpunk, all that stuff that's mainly picture heavy, I think will look better. You could really see that it's very blurry on the Sony, whereas that picture here is really tight. I like that. I find with the Kobo, I do love the left side menu pane that tells you whereabouts you are in a book. No other really e-reader gives you that, although I do dig the pinching and zooming feature on the Sony. I'm torn between which one I think is better because they both give you those unique experiences. The Sony, as you can see, it lags in a lot of cases, and this is a 100 MB file, whereas the Kobo has no problem with it because the Kobo has a 1 gigahertz processor, so everything is pretty seamless. I'd probably say give it to the Kobo because the processor, the resolution, and PDFs tend to load pretty quicker. There's no really quick clipping or lag. Sony is more versatile with handling PDFs, but you are susceptible to a little bit of delay, a little bit of lag, and so on. So that's pretty well it. The last thing we want to show you before we wrap this up is the store experience. You can see with Sony, they have their reading store. You don't really have like a ton of books on here, but it does offer like enough content to be able to get you going. So you see right here, both are loaded, and it took a few seconds on each device to make that happen, but you can see that there's really no Kobo sort of store interface. They're pretty well what you see here, just hyperlinks to like other descriptions, where with the Sony one here, you actually see titles, and you could actually click here and scroll different cover art, and people naturally are drawn to cover art, or drawn to like titles or maybe book covers they've seen in other cases. And then you see here you have sort of your destination, new arrivals, and you have here like what new and hot fiction.
I think the Sony just looks so much better. It's formatted better. Look at the way each kind of section is. I mean, you get the featured titles at the bottom. You get a little cart symbol. It looks like a store. This, as it started out, I mean, it's starting to look more like a store now, but when it started out, it was just a list of text. You can't really tell what you're looking at quite, and there's no store button when we entered it, it was kind of like a list. There was free books, classics, categories, all that kind of thing. So it can be a little bit confusing.
Yeah, the Sony store looks like a store. The Kobo one just looks like a place to like download free books and buy books. It doesn't really look like a true store. And in this regards, I would have to give it to the Sony, just because it may not have as much content as Kobo, but it functions and feels like a proper store, and that's what I like. So we want to hear your opinions. Which device do you like better, and tell us why. You can let us know on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/goodyreader, or on our website at goodyreader.com. And for a comparison on the Sony PRS-T2 versus the Kobo Glo, my name is Michael.
And this is Peter.
Everybody take care.